OCN Volume 26, Number 8, August 1st, 2026. This podcast presents the audio versions of the articles and columns in this issue of OCN in the order they appeared in the paper. For details, please refer to the articles and columns, which are posted at ocn.me. Buc-ee's Appeals Non-Approval by John Heiser. On June 19th, Buc-ee's NEPCO LLC, the entity pursuing approval of the proposed Buc-ee's Travel Center on the combined parcel of about 53.4 acres on the southeast corner of the intersection of Beacon Light Road and County Line Road, submitted to the El Paso County Planning and Community Development (PCD) Department a request for an administrative determination on whether the proposed use is classified as a convenience store or other commercial use allowed by the present obsolete C1 commercial zoning on the parcel. In the county's Land Development Code, LDC, convenience store is defined as an establishment for the purpose of offering for sale to the neighborhood in which it is located such items as groceries, ready-to-eat food, over-the-counter drugs, and sundries. A convenience store may include retail sale of gasoline and other petroleum products. Gas station is defined as a property where the retail sale of gasoline, diesel fuel, oil, or other fuel for vehicles, and which may include, as an incidental use, the retail sale and installation of vehicle accessories, the making of minor repairs, and facilities for washing and servicing of not more than 3 vehicles completely enclosed in a structure. Convenience stores are an allowed use in C1 zones. Gas stations are not. Buc-ee's appeal notes that the definition does not place any limits on the size of convenience stores and claims that the project is not a gas station because it does not offer any of the other vehicle services. The proposed project consists of an approximately 74,000 square foot building, 120 fueling positions, approximately 20 electric vehicle charging stations, approximately 790 parking spaces, and bicycle parking. No on-site seating is proposed. On July 1st, PCD Executive Director Megan Harrington responded in part, "Based on the definitions, historical approvals, and comparative analysis, staff finds it difficult to classify the proposed use. Because it is unclear whether the use meets the LDC definition of a convenience store, staff cannot determine whether it is sufficiently similar to allowed uses within the C1 zoning district to qualify as an allowed use." In short, Buc-ee's did not get the approval it sought. Harrington's letter is posted at https://epcdevplanreview.com/public/project details/215125. On July 2nd, Buc-ee submitted an appeal of that determination to the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC. The appeal letter and associated public comments are posted at https://epcdevplanreview.com/public/project details/215507. The appeal includes an 11-page argument in favor of the request, information on other convenience stores, a traffic impact study, and a site development plan. As of July 24th, 6 groups of public comments totaling 144 megabytes had been submitted to the PCD or BOCC. Those comments are predominantly, if not entirely, opposed to the Buc-ee's development. Those who wish to submit written comments on the appeal can email them to plnweb@elpasoco.com. As this issue of OCN went to press on July 28th, the BOCC had not yet scheduled consideration of the appeal. The county has created a Buc-ee's update webpage regarding the proposed project at https://planningdevelopment.elpaso.co.com/biac-es/. The Planning and Community Development Department can be contacted at 719-520-6300, planweb@elpasoco.com, or 2880 International Circle, Suite 110, Colorado Springs, CO 80910. John Heiser can be contacted at johnheiser@ocn.me. El Paso County Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners, July 2, 2024. MA Subdivisions Rezone Denied. By Marlene Brown. On July 2nd, the El Paso County Planning Commission, EPCPC, recommended for approval by the Board of County Commissioners, BOCC, the rezoning of 17.61 acres of the Searle Ranch from PUD to RR 2.5, located on Cherry Springs Road, about 0.37 miles from Cherry Springs Road and State Highway 105. The final plat for the same 17.61 acres to create 6 single-family lots was also recommended for approval. As reported last month on June 18th, the Planning Commission heard a rezoning request for MA Subdivision Tract A of 7.56 acres, located on the southeast corner of Walker Road and Highway 83. The request was to rezone RR5, residential rural, to RM12, residential multi-dwelling. There was another request by MA Infrastructure LLC for rezoning of MA Subdivision Tract A for 7.79 acres, from RR5 to RM30, residential multi-dwelling. The Commission recommended to the BOCC for denial 6-1, resulting in a recommendation for denial. Several reasons were cited for the denial: surrounding zoning districts, lack of commercial businesses, lack of compatibility with the existing character of the area, and lack of walkability to commercial and parkland uses. Several speakers expressed concern that approval would set a precedent for additional high-density development along Highway 83. Concerns included increased traffic, roadway capacity, pedestrian safety, emergency response, and proximity of Monument Academy. On the BOCC consent agenda July 23rd was the rezoning of the Searle Ranch PUD to RR 2.5 and the final plat requested by Searle Development Inc. for 17.61 acres, creating 6 single-family lots. The motion was approved 9-0. On the Land Use Regular Items agenda was the rezoning request by MA Infrastructure LLC for approval of MA Subdivision Tract A rezone to RM12 and MA Subdivision Tract A rezone to RM30. May people came to speak in opposition of the rezone. Each person was allowed only 90 seconds to speak, less than the 3 minutes they had been allowed to speak in past BOCC meetings. They reiterated that the rezones for large lots to multi-dwelling would be incompatible with the surrounding rural character of the area and was inconsistent with the intent of the El Paso County Master Plan. Speakers also raised concerns for increased traffic, roadway capacity, and pedestrian safety, and the proximity for the proposed development to Monument Academy. The BOCC voted to deny the request by a vote of 3-2. Commissioner Holly Williams made the motion to deny, citing a failure to achieve general conformance with the El Paso County Master Plan and a lack of compatibility with the existing and permitted land uses and zone districts in the area. Commissioners Corey Applegate and Bill Wysong voted for the motion to deny the application. BOCC Chair Carrie Geithner and Vice Chair Lauren Nelson voted against the motion. Williams represents District 1, which covers much of northern El Paso County, including Woodmoor, Glen Eagle, and Black Forest. Wysong represents District 3, which includes Monument and Palmer Lake. The applicant could now appeal the decision, revise the plan, and resubmit it, or develop the property in conformance with its existing RR5 zoning, rural residential, 5-acre lots. More details on this and other development projects in El Paso County can be found at EDARP, Electronic Development Application Review Program, https://epcdevelopmentplanreview.com. The Planning Commission usually meets on the first and third Thursdays of the month at 9 a.m. at the Regional Development Center, 2880 International Circle, Suite 110, Colorado Springs, 80910. Call 719-327-2880 for more information. The BOCC usually meets every Tuesday at 9 a.m. at 200 South Cascade Avenue, Suite 100, Colorado Springs. The BOCC Land Use Committee meets on the second and fourth Thursdays as needed. Call 719-520-7276 for more information. Go to bocc.elpasoco.com or https://www.agendasuite.org/IIP/El for meeting schedules and agendas. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, July 20th. Lake parking permits. Data center moratorium approved. By Marlene Brown. At the July 20th meeting of the Monument Town Council, MTC, it approved requiring parking permits at Monument Lake and adopted a moratorium on consideration of applications for data centers. Dmitry Chernyak of DMC Auditing and Consulting presented a clean, unmodified audit opinion for the 2025 fiscal year. He noted one material weakness, finding related to an audit adjustment, which was triggered by the extra scrutiny of a federal single audit required because the town spent over $1 million in federal grant funds. Monument Lake Parking Permit Program. The MTC approved Ordinance 13-2026 and Resolution 33-2026 to require parking permits at Monument Lake. The program includes a $50 annual permit option for residents and a $5.25 daily fee for non-residents, with kiosks expected to be installed and operational in early 2027. The local residential permits will be issued at the Water Department at 259 Beacon Light Road. There are concerns from the nearby neighborhoods regarding people parking vehicles on their streets and then walking to the lake. Monument Police Department officers will check permits and ensure that people are following the rules. Data Center Moratorium. The MTC unanimously approved Ordinance 18-2026, which establishes a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance or processing of land development applications for data centers. The moratorium is intended to give town staff time to study the impacts of these facilities on resources like water and electricity, and to update the land development code accordingly. There has not been an inquiry by any company regarding a data center to be built in Monument. They can be very costly and have high utility usage and be a strain on local electricity and water. It's expected that one would not bring very many new jobs to the area. Heart of Monument Play Park Contract Award. Resolution 45-2026 passed, awarding a $754,914 contract to Fisk Lawnscapes for the construction of Phase 1 of the Heart of Monument, a fully accessible playground at 2nd and Adams in downtown Monument. The project has been in development since 2019. The town is approving the contract, which is funded in part by the Town of Monument, the Colorado Springs Health Foundation, and significant fundraising by the Monument Hill Kiwanis Club. New ADA parking lot contract. The MTC approved a $71,355 contract with National Pavement Partners to build a fully Americans with Disabilities Act compliant parking lot at 2nd and Adams Streets to serve the new play park. This project is supported by a $100,000 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. Police Department recognitions. Town Manager Madeline Van Den Hoek recognized several police department achievements, including Lieutenant Mark Owen's completion of the FBI National Academy and the promotion of Officer Josh Teeples to Sergeant. Officer Dustin Thompson was recognized as the Masonic Lodge Officer of the Year for his service and professionalism. Community-wise, they had the Cops and Bobbers Kids Fishing Tournament, concerts in the parks, and July 4th celebrations. Van Den Hoek highlighted the multi-departmental effort required to host the 4th of July celebration, noting it as one of the largest in the state and was safe and successful for the community. Water System Strategy Update. Following an executive session, the MTC discussed significant developments regarding regional water planning. It provided direction to staff to retain a payment previously intended for the Loop Water Authority, while it continues to evaluate local and regional options. Further options will be discussed at the August 3rd meeting. Authorization for former employee negotiations. The MTC passed a motion requesting that the town HR manager and town attorney negotiate with a former town employee regarding potential legal claims. These negotiations are to follow specific parameters provided by the MTC during an executive session. Regular meetings are typically held on the first and third Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, located at 645 Beacon Light Road, Monument. The next meeting is scheduled for August 3rd. If the meeting falls on a holiday, it will be held the following Tuesday. See townofmonument.org for agendas and supporting documents. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Monument Town Council, July 6th. Nearly half of objectives accomplished. By Marlene Brown. The July 6th Monument Town Council meeting started with an introduction of Municipal Court Judge John Cicolella. Cicolella has been the Municipal Court Judge in Monument for about 20 years, though this was the first time that he had been introduced to the Town Council. He explained how his approach to his municipal court is down to earth and wants his courtroom to be easily accessible. He mentioned that the court has a very low recidivism rate. 2 town employees received recognition for their 5th anniversary as employees of the Town of Monument. They are Sean Farnham, Public Works Department, and Officer Chase Dukes with the Monument Police Department. Town Manager Madeline Vandenhoek presented the first 6-month progress report, with 48% of the objectives of the strategic plan accomplished. They were put in place at the beginning of the year. The town is looking to extend the completion of some of the objectives to January 2027, to give more time to meet with citizen subcommittees to complete more objectives, such as the emergency management plan that is in the works with Pikes Peak Emergency Management. Goals have been met, and future goals are on track. Water issues. The council heard the water rate study preliminary results from Jennifer Phillips, Finance Director and Interim Public Works Director. The last rate study was 10 years ago. There was a 5% increase in the water rates every year for 5 years, 2016 to 20. There hasn't been an increase in the last 5 years, 2020 to 2025. Results of the study show capital expenditures, water system equipment, and maintenance and repairs expenses have increased in the last 5 years, without an increase in the water fund revenue. Phillips showed different water rate increase possibilities and a look at recommendations from the Finance Department on how the council wants the water rate increase to be implemented. With most of the customers using about 5,500 gallons a month at about $96 a month, there would be about a 10% increase, and other higher usage residential accounts will be increased at a higher rate, stepped up accordingly, including commercial accounts. Loop Water Authority. Jason Hann, the new executive director of the Loop Water Authority, LWA, has been meeting with the local water districts and will have met with most of them soon. He explained how LWA works on renewable water resources. One of the most debated items for the council has been whether to pay a $219,815 invoice from LWA for future and long-term costs for infrastructure. The council voted 5-1 to pay the invoice, keeping Monument involved in the project through the end of 2026. There was a very lengthy presentation from the staff of the Planning Department for the Falcon Commerce Center Phase 2 Preliminary Plan PUD to include a final PUD for the Santa Fe Meadows, a residential development. The residential lots being on south end of the development are near old runways at the Air Force Academy, AFA, that are being used for training purposes. No decision was made, and it was postponed until August 3rd. The delay gives a subcommittee time to meet with the AFA to work through safety and compatibility concerns. The Council approved Ordinance 17-2006 updating Monuments Accessory Dwelling Unit, ADU, regulations. These changes are required by House Bill 254-1152, focusing on making ADU standards objective and limiting the town's ability to require extra parking. The Monument Police Department, MPD, received approval of the purchase of new Shadow Systems handguns and accessories totaling $27,276. The purchase will provide an updated firearm collection. A change order was approved for additional contract items for asbestos removal work done at the lot for the water tank on Beacon Lot Road. The appointment of Judge Cicolella for a 6-month contract was approved. Regular meetings are typically held on the first and third Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, located at 645 Beacon Light Road, Monument. If the meeting falls on a holiday, it will be held the following Tuesday. See townofmonument.org for agendas and supporting documents. Marlene Brown can be reached at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Monument Planning Commission, July 8th. Commission approves Powersports dealership, new high-density residential development, by Janet Sellers. On July 8th, the Monument Planning Commission navigated 2 major development projects and addressed the growing administrative challenges of the town's rapid expansion. Carl Malone, Powersports, from metal to natural aesthetics. After 2 years of design iterations, the Carl Malone Powersports project on lots 8 and 9 of the Terraza Baja development along the south section of Beacon Light Road received a unanimous 5-0 recommendation for approval. For those who have followed this project since 2024, the evolution in design faced early criticism regarding a heavy industrial reliance on metal panels. The applicant returned with a far more localized aesthetic. The approved plan replaces sterile surfaces with earth tones, wood elements, concrete block, and stucco. During the meeting, Commissioner Donna Hatch questioned the structural integrity of the proposed 8-foot solid metal fencing, specifically its ability to handle our region's high winds. The applicant confirmed that the fencing is engineered for durability and provides a secure, fully screened enclosure for sensitive inventory like dirt bikes, addressing their long-standing concerns regarding theft in the powersports industry. Connexus Hill Point, a divide over density and amenities. The Commission also heard the final planned unit development, PUD plan for Hill Point at Connexus, a 19.1-acre residential proposal featuring 354 units. This item sparked a discussion, ultimately passing with a 3-2 vote. The project aims to provide workforce housing for residents earning 80 to 120% of the area median income. However, the discussion centered on the livability of such high-density projects. Commissioners Ray Egley and Martin Trujillo voiced concerns that while the broader Connexus development boasts 27.5 acres of open space, there is a distinct lack of usable park and playground infrastructure within the immediate Hill Point site. Open space is not parks, was noted by the Commission, highlighting a recurring tension in Monument's growth, the difference between empty land and intentional community space. To mitigate noise from I-25, the developer committed to an 8-foot precast concrete barrier, and townhomes along Old Denver Road were redesigned to face internal streets, prioritizing privacy over highway exposure. Commissioner Hatch questioned the lack of a play park for children on the site. The developer indicated they expect the housing to serve 1 or 2 adult households, not families with children. The Carl Malone Powersports and Connexus Hill Point projects will now proceed to the Town Council for final PUD approval. Looking ahead, the bylaws and meeting bottlenecks. Beyond the specific projects, the Commission took a step back to evaluate its own capacity. With Monument's planning agenda becoming increasingly crowded, Planning Director Ray Medina and the Commission members discussed implementing an application limit, capping the number of cases heard per meeting to ensure each project receives the rigorous review it deserves. Additionally, the Commission is currently navigating scheduling conflicts for the November 11th meeting, which falls on Veterans Day. With town growth showing no signs of slowing, the Commission is prioritizing administrative adjustments to ensure the town's future isn't just fast, but thoughtful. The Commission advises the Town Council on land use and development issues. The Commission's recommendations are based on local and state laws, zoning, and municipal codes. The Planning Commission usually meets on the second Wednesday of each month. The next meeting is scheduled for August 12th. For further information on commission meetings, please visit www.townofmonument.org/263/planning-commission-board-of-adjustment or contact 71988488028. A recording with a transcript of each meeting is also available. Janet Sellers can be reached at janetsellers@ocn.me. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, July 9th. Board announces 3 finalists in Administrator Search. By Douglas Schoback. On July 9th, the Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, moved closer to hiring the next town administrator while continuing to address a broad range of issues affecting the community, from development and wildfire preparedness to infrastructure safety and municipal operations. In a press release issued during the week of the 9th, town officials announced 3 finalists for the town administrator position following a nationwide recruitment conducted in partnership with Strategic Government Resources. The finalists are Patrick Davidson, former town administrator for Elizabeth, Colorado, Robert Evans, former city manager for Crandall, Texas, and Troy Hill, a municipal consultant and economic development professional with Hillshaw Consulting in Liberty Hill, Texas. Residents will have an opportunity to meet the candidates during a public meet and greet from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. on August 3rd at Town Hall. Candidate interviews with the Board of Trustees and town staff are also scheduled that day, with trustees expected to consider appointing the new town administrator during a special meeting on August 6th. The announcement comes as PLBOT continues working through several significant issues discussed during its July 9th regular meeting. Elephant Rock property. One of the meeting's most consequential actions involved the Elephant Rock property. Following executive session discussions about real estate, litigation, and negotiations, the trustees voted unanimously to end the town's listing agreement with KCR&E, providing the required 30-day notice. The board also approved an amendment to its contract with Safe Built to provide added engineering services needed to complete planned development and subdivision work for the property. The trustees also continued preparing for future governance by approving Resolution 28-2026, calling for the November 3rd coordinated election with El Paso County. The election will include the mayor's seat, which carries a 2-year term, along with 5 trustee positions. Financial oversight also received attention during the meeting, as board members discussed the timing of monthly check registers, after questions were raised regarding a payment exceeding $15,000 to the town's accounting firm. The conversation centered on improving transparency in the town's financial reporting process. Public safety. Public safety remained another key topic. Interim Town Administrator Glenn Smith updated trustees on regional wildfire preparedness efforts, encouraging residents to use the Pikes Peak Regional Emergency Management app for emergency alerts. He also highlighted a new emergency preparedness section on the town's website designed to improve access to critical information. The board also heard concerns about retaining employees and contractors after recent staffing changes. Trustees discussed fostering a stronger workplace culture through competitive compensation, mutual respect, and community-building activities intended to improve morale and retention. During public comments, resident Leah Root urged town leaders and the community to move beyond divisiveness, encouraging a more respectful and collaborative approach to local government. Resident Martha Bradzik, wife of Trustee Mosley, raised concerns regarding legal billing transparency and a loss of trust in town administration. The meeting concluded with an extensive discussion about the deteriorating log bridge near Kent Prairie. While some residents supported preserving the structure for its historical significance, town officials warned that the aging bridge no longer meets safety standards and poses an immediate hazard, with Parks Commission leadership recommending its removal. After a long debate regarding potential repair versus immediate removal, Mayor Stern directed the interim administrator to remove the bridge for public safety, noting it was only 3 years old and lacked true historical significance. Douglas Schoback can be reached at douglasschoback@ocn.me. Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, July 23rd. Board tackles harassment probe. Financial transparency. By Douglas Shobak. The Palmer Lake Board of Trustees, PLBOT, covered a wide range of issues during its July 23rd meeting, including the recruitment of a new town administrator, a workplace harassment investigation, and financial oversight, public safety, and long-term planning. The meeting opened with a special session focused on hiring a new town administrator. Trustees reviewed qualifications for the position and met with representatives from Strategic Government Resources, SGR, the firm helping with the search. The discussion set the stage for what board members described as an important transition for the town's leadership. Workplace harassment investigation. Much of the meeting centered on a workplace harassment investigation. The town attorney presented findings and outlined the town's potential legal exposure, along with possible next steps. The discussion became contentious when Trustee Roger Mosley challenged the attorney's assertion that he should recuse himself because he was the subject of the investigation. After an extended debate, the board unanimously agreed to appoint an independent hearing officer to conduct a quasi-judicial hearing to determine whether cause exists for Mosley's removal. Trustees said the approach would help ensure due process while reducing the town's legal risk. Police Chief Glenn Smith said the department has adopted a zero-tolerance approach to speeding and is reviewing state statutes governing electric bicycles. He also encouraged helmet use for riders younger than 16 as e-bike traffic continues to increase. Financial transparency. Questions about financial transparency also surfaced. Trustee Tony Beltran challenged the handling of certain legal invoices, asking why portions had been redacted, and questioning earlier public statements about the town's legal expenses. Later in the meeting, the trustees approved the town's 2025 financial audit after receiving an unmodified opinion. Some board members voiced frustration that they had only one day to review the approximately 40-page report before voting. The board also discussed a possible moratorium on data centers after receiving a request from the Planning Commission. While trustees generally supported exploring the idea, they directed the commission to return with a more detailed recommendation before any formal action is considered. Beltran also paused to recognize former Mayor Paul Olivier on the 37th anniversary of surviving the 1989 United Airlines Flight 232 crash, noting the tragedy's lasting influence on aviation safety. Fire Chief John Vincent reported that Palmer Lake firefighters recently assisted with wildfire responses on the Hopi Reservation in Arizona, near Ouray, Colorado, and in Oregon, highlighting the department's continued participation in regional and interstate mutual aid efforts. Residents Gene Cleese and Steve Draper presented a proposal to replace the recently removed Lover's Lane log bridge with a volunteer-built, privately funded structure designed for pedestrians and horseback riders. During public comments, a resident alleged that the trustees had engaged in prohibited serial meetings concerning a proposed land swap, raising questions about compliance with Colorado's open meetings law. No board action was taken on the allegation. The next regular board meetings are scheduled for August 13th and 27th. See the town's website at www.townofpalmerlake.com to confirm times and dates of board meetings and workshops. Meetings are typically held on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month at the Town Hall. Information: 719-481-2953. Douglas Shobak can be reached at douglasshobak@ocn.me. Monument Fire District, July 22nd. A moment of silence for fallen firefighters. Chief Kovacs farewell. By Gordon Reichel, Monument Fire District, MFD, Board of Directors, BOD. President Mark Gunderman asked for a moment of silence to remember and honor 4 firefighters who lost their lives in Colorado wildfires. Emily Barker, 38, of Clinton Township, Michigan, assigned to the U.S. Forest Service. Nick Hutcherson, 27, of Glendale, Arizona, assigned to the U.S. Forest Service. Sidney Watson, 26, of Warrior, Alabama, assigned to the U.S. Wildland Fire Service, and Nicholas Dale, 56, a pilot from Souk, British Columbia, Canada. MFD is providing a 3-member firefighting team and vehicle to the Gold Mountain Fire on a 2-week assignment, and MFD is planning a replacement team within the following week. Board of Directors items. The BOD welcomed Chief Colin Fitzgerald, who attended via video conference in his first monthly meeting, and was greeted by Treasurer Stephen Phillips, who said that the financial budget remains on target to date, below planned spending for the year to date, and things are running well, including the reserve account that remains at $658,897. The board approved the financial report as written. Division Chief of Administration Jamie Bumgarner reported on the Training Center and the Fire Station 3 facilities status. The Training Center is awaiting the Town of Monument permit approval and continues to anticipate August 15th as the start of construction and completion time in late October to mid-November. Fire Station 3, the new MFD building near the YMCA, construction progresses with slab and steel anticipated to be continued this month. The old Station 3 building remains for sale, and Resolution 2605 was passed by the BOD confirming the intent of sale to the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District. A budget planning meeting with MFD Union 4319 representatives is planned for contract discussions and benefits for next fiscal year's budget in the September to October timeframe. New MFD fire vehicles have arrived and are undergoing final installation of unique mission support and communications equipment. These vehicles are expected to be mission-ready and responding to calls for service within 2 weeks. The change of command ceremony for retiring Fire Chief Andy Kovacs and swearing in of incoming Fire Chief Colin Fitzgerald remains planned for Monday, August 3rd at 10 a.m. at the administrative offices. The community is encouraged to attend and honor Chief Kovacs for his dedication and service to the Tri-Lakes area and our surrounding fire districts, and welcome Chief Fitzgerald to the team. CDOT roadway improvement. A new roundabout is planned for Highway 83 and Stagecoach Road. An MFD land parcel of about 70 feet in the roundabout street side will be sold to El Paso County for this project. Upon completion, this new traffic configuration is expected to make it safer for pedestrians and students, but not make it more difficult for large MFD vehicles. This action was approved by the BOD. Record of MFD calls for service. MFD responded in June to the following calls for service: sick people, 54, fall calls, 38, traffic accidents, 35, chest pains, 19, and citizen assists, 17. Under the mutual aid agreements with surrounding communities, given/received aid was provided or received as follows: Palmer Lake 8/2, Douglas County 6/0, Black Forest 4/2, Air Force Academy 2/0, and Colorado Springs 2/4. Service call coordination planning sessions are scheduled with Palmer Lake. MFD chipping service for fire mitigation. Division Chief of Community Risk Reduction Jonathan Bradley reported this year's chipping and disposal project was well accepted and provided significant risk reduction for any fast-moving fires that may occur in our area. He reminded residents this is a free scheduled service when coordinated by local neighborhood ambassadors, advocating for all aspects of their community safety and beautification. Community fire prevention coordinated with MFD will not only decrease fire risk, but most insurance companies will consider these common coordinated neighborhood fire control efforts favorably for potential policy price reductions. Kovacs' informal farewell comments. Kovacs requested a few minutes at his last BOD meeting as fire chief to bid farewell to the BOD, the gathered fire district leaders, Monument Professional Firefighters Union, 4913 representatives, and community attendees. He started by welcoming incoming Fire Chief Colin Fitzgerald to his new team and thanked the Tri-Lakes community and the members of his extended family of MFD members for being blessed with the full support of the BOD. He said trust is the legacy he values of MFD by the community, our surrounding neighbors and visitors. Kovacs recognized the bond existing between Monument Fire District and northern El Paso County and the great professional respect they share. He related how Above and Beyond has become the linchpin of all MFD 24/7. He related a call from a senior lady needing help for a smoke detector going off in her home. A crew responded finding a battery needing to be changed, which they did. Then, above and beyond, the crew inspected the house and found several other alarm batteries nearly at the end of life. They took it upon themselves to obtain new batteries out of their own pocket, return and replace the entire group of alarm batteries, and assured the senior had contact information for MFD if ever additional help was needed. Kovacs accepted the leadership task to make MFD an acknowledged leader on the Colorado Front Range. BOD President Mark Gunderman and his fellow directors said Kovacs is one of the humblest persons any have ever met. The accolades were, "We got the right guy," and "He got it right." Meetings are usually held on the fourth Wednesday of every month. The next regular meeting is scheduled for August 26th at 4:30 p.m. at Station 1, 18,650 Highway 105. For Microsoft Teams virtual joining instructions, agendas, minutes, and updates, visit www.monumentfire.org or contact Director of Administration, Jennifer Martin, at 719-484-0911. Gordon Reichel can be reached at gordonreichel@ocn.me. Below, incoming Chief Colin Fitzgerald. Photos courtesy MFD. Monument Academy School Board, July 15th. Board supports denial of nearby property rezoning. By Jackie Burhans. The Monument Academy MA Board met on July 15th to discuss the rezoning proposal for the land at Highway 83 and Walker Road that is adjacent to its school. It also approved student handbook updates, discussed a survey on a 4-day school week, and heard a proposed change to the elementary specials program. The board also handled several areas requiring board discussion and action, and passed some curriculum, course, textbook, and policy changes. Rezoning proposal discussed. Toward the end of its meeting, the board adjourned to executive session for advice to negotiators regarding the board's position and options related to local development proposals. After half an hour, the board returned to make a statement and take action. Board President Lindsay Clinton read a brief statement. She said the board understood that there had been questions about the East Campus property. She explained that in June 2019, the Monument Academy Foundation, MAF, entered into a development agreement with MA Development LLC and Walden Corporation to construct the East Campus. At the time, the MA board was completely different from what it is today, and Patrick Hall was the board president. Matt Dunstan is head of MA Development, she said. The land he had acquired from School District 38 with the intention of providing space for the East Campus was not yet subdivided, so MAF temporarily accepted 42 acres of the land. Once the land was subdivided, MA was required by that agreement to convey the remaining property to MA Development. It was not a discretionary decision that a later board could overturn. Clinton said she hoped that provided some clarity to the community. The board unanimously voted to support the recommendation of denial to rezone the MA Development property before the El Paso Board of County Commissioners, BOCC public hearing on July 23rd. Note: on July 23rd, after a multi-hour meeting, the BOCC voted to deny the requested rezoning of the property from RR5, rural residential 5-acre lots, to RM12 and RM30, residential multi-dwelling of 12 and 30 dwelling units per acre. Student Handbook Updates. The board unanimously approved updates to the student handbook that included changes required due to recently passed legislation. These include modifying language around Title IX and appointing Executive Director Colin Vinchattel as the Title IX officer, Vinchattel also noted updates around Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, rules and fees, allergies, and immunizations. Additions include a section on service animals, safety and security, and tobacco lookalikes. The handbook also prohibits outside sale of items by students and includes a reference to the new elementary writing and grammar curricula and the opt-out policy for religious accommodations. A new compact document states behavior expectations for the school, parents, and students to be signed by all three parties. The handbook also references policies on physical restraint and cell phone usage and updates the classroom visit form. Vinchattel clarified that the compact is in addition to the handbook and noted that signing the handbook includes agreeing to any future changes. He said MA would highlight the changes and new forms in social media. 4-day school week contemplated. Vinchattel said a survey was sent out at the end of the last school year to explore ways to support staff since MA could not always compete fiscally. There was some misunderstanding, he said, but the intent was to get initial feedback to see if MA should explore a 4-day school week further, he said. Of 130 staff members, 84 responded, with 79% expressing interest in further exploring alternative schedules. Staff respondents showed a slight preference for longer school days rather than extending the school year, while concerns focused on the impact of longer days on younger students, childcare challenges for working families, and alignment with neighboring district calendars. Vinchattel said the survey was then put to parents, receiving 392 responses. Among respondents, 51% supported exploring alternative schedules further, though many were not necessarily endorsing a specific change, he said. Parents also favored longer school days over a longer calendar, while 41% preferred maintaining the current 5-day schedule. Vinchattel reported key concerns around the financial burden of additional childcare, the potential for increased homework, and a desire for more detailed information about how a revised calendar would operate. He acknowledged that confusion about the survey's purpose led some families to expect detailed proposals rather than a preliminary discussion. Clinton said the response is not statistically significant enough to make her feel comfortable. She supports the goal of providing incentives and quality of life for staff, but prefers to dig into other ideas before implementing something that might have a negative impact. Board member Craig Carl agreed and expressed concern that MA's progress on enrollment could be jeopardized. He suggested the possibility of contracting with a daycare service for the 5th day. The board discussed the possibility of changing the starting or ending date of the school year by a week, with Carly suggesting a town hall to encourage more responses. Clinton suggested adding this topic to strategic plan discussions and redoing the survey looking for a minimum level of participation. Plans to build alternate elementary specials program. Elementary Principal Jesse Davis presented a proposal to replace Spanish as a special language for elementary school, with a homegrown Capturing Kids' Hearts-Based Leadership and Character Education program for the 2027-28 school year. She said this would address a long-standing hurdle MA has faced in hiring and retaining Spanish teachers. She also saw an opportunity to vertically align with the programs at the secondary campus. Davis said the once-weekly program would focus on age-appropriate skills, ranging from teaching younger students eye contact and social awareness to helping older elementary students develop empathy, servant leadership, and community engagement. She said the plan is to spend the 2026-27 school year developing the curriculum with MA's Process Champions Committee and gathering parent feedback to ensure the program has a clear scope, sequence, and measurable outcomes. Clinton said she would like the proposal to move through the curriculum committee process and support the school's academic goals. Davis said character development can improve academic performance by helping students feel safe, connected, and engaged at school. Vinchattel added that the program could incorporate academic elements such as Socratic discussions, reading and analyzing articles, project-based learning, and speech writing. He noted that Spanish and French were in the original school charter, but said MA had found that 45 minutes weekly did not lead to language skill retention compared to language immersion programs. Board actions. The board unanimously approved the following curricula, administrative agreements, and policies. The board approved moving the August meeting from the 13th to the 20th, since the school year will just have started, and adding a work session on the 18th to follow up on strategic planning and action items from its board retreat. It also agreed to move the October meeting to the 15th after fall break. The board approved a request to negotiate with Minga Educational Group for a hybrid option for human resources, HR. The HR subcommittee issued a call for proposals, which yielded 3 proposals, but selected Minga because it could offer in-person 1 to 2 days per week to meet with staff in addition to a virtual option. Clinton noted that the contract was for 1 year, so MA can try it and see if it works out as hoped. Vinchattel presented a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with Pikes Peak State College, PPSC, for the concurrent enrollment class program. Vinchattel said that high school families wanted to understand options for college credit. He met with Senior Director of High School Programs Jessica McAllister to discuss options. McAllister, who previously worked at D38, said she would submit MA's requested changes to the MOU for legal review, but that PPSC used the same MOU with everybody. The board decided to postpone approval until the legal review is complete. Operations Manager Jake Dykes presented the updated Emergency Operations Plan for the 2026-27 school year. Changes were minimal, he said, updating personnel and adding assistant principals. He expected the document to change again with the completion of the track and field project, and then once more when the Performing Arts Center is completed. The population numbers will be updated after the October count, he said, and school resource officers will review once the larger changes are made. The board unanimously approved the updated plan. Dykes reported on the 5th 2026 MA Gala event, Going All In for MA, that was casino-themed. He thanked sponsors for their generosity and recognized the gala team, noting that planning begins in late August or early September. Funds from this year's event will enhance safety and security on both campuses, he said, adding security film and possible parking lot gates at the East Campus. Curriculum and policies. The following curriculum, courses, and textbooks were unanimously approved after opportunity for and response to parental review and feedback. Dave Ramsey Economics Curriculum. Introduction to Circuits course. Introduction to Gaming course. Physical Science course, and Textbook Chemistry textbook. The board approved updates to the district's uniform policies and renamed the policies to align with current naming conventions. The elementary school uniform policy changed from 1501ES to Policy JICAE-MA, while the middle school uniform policy changed from 1501MS to Policy JICAE-MA. Vinchattel said. Vinchattel said the list of approved vendors was removed from both policies and placed in a separate document to allow more efficient updates. Clinton noted that this policy puts a lot of expectations on staff and emphasized that parents are the first line of compliance. Vinchattel said the beginning of the year training includes a session on uniforms. The goal and focus are on consistency of enforcement. Note: MA policies can be found at http://tinyurl.com/ma-policies. Board meeting highlights. Executive Director. Vinchattel reported that MA's track and field project had a scoreboard and retaining wall, with sheds coming soon. He congratulated Secondary Athletic Director Lanny Vance for finding a home for the Lynx team at Kings Deer Golf. MA continues to work on staff openings and make changes to its homeschool enrichment partnership program due to legislative impacts. Finance Director. Laura Poland presented the June financials, which represent 91.7% of the budget year. To date, Kimwaskakit, West Campus has a net income of $855,000. The middle school has a net loss of $210,000, and high school has a net loss of $588,000. She noted that income from the gala was still forthcoming. Net income for all three schools was $57,000 after paying staff bonuses, paying Walden Corp insurance, and accounting for the gala. Poland reported that the state's economic report showed higher than expected tax revenue, and MA is not expecting to have any per-pupil revenue rescinded in December, and is less concerned about the budget stabilization factor returning. All refinance transactions were tied out in the accounting system, and the adopted budget was posted and delivered to D38. The MA School Board meets at 6:30 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month. The next regular board meeting has been moved to August 20th at 6:30 p.m. at the East Campus. The agenda and packet are available at tinyurl.com/ma-board-docs. Jackie Burhans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, July 13th. District prepares for Woodmoor Drive Roundabout. By James Howald. At the recommendation of District Engineer Sidney Salins, the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation (WWSD) Board awarded a contract for work related to El Paso County's plan to install a traffic roundabout at the intersection of Deer Creek Road and Woodmoor Drive. District Manager Jesse Schaffer presented a budget with minor changes. The board heard financial and operational reports, and Attorney Tamara Seaver gave an update on a class action lawsuit the district has joined to recover the costs of removing PFAS chemicals from its water supply, should those chemicals be present in the future. The meeting ended with an executive session. Roundabout contract awarded? Salins told the board there were 7 bidders to do the work to prepare for the construction of a traffic roundabout at Deer Creek Road and Woodmoor Drive. The contract was divided into a base bid for all the work needed to satisfy the county's requirements and an alternative bid for moving some existing pipelines away from the roundabout site to avoid future disruption to the roundabout if those pipelines needed maintenance. The bids ranged from $242,775 to $331,815. Company 633 Construction LLC was the low bidder, Salin said, and she recommended that it receive the contract. The board voted unanimously to award the contract to Company 633 with 10% added for contingencies, making the total $267,052. Few budget tweaks needed. Schaffer presented an updated 2026 budget with total revenues of $14.4 million and total expenditures of $16.3 million. Schaffer said lease income was increased from $95,000 to $371,000 due to the district's water leasing agreement with the Arkansas Groundwater and Reservoir Association and to the district's leaseback agreement with the Monument Fire District, MFD. WWSD has purchased the fire station on Woodmoor Drive, and MFD is leasing the building back from WWSD until its new station on Jackson Creek Parkway is built. On the expenditure side, construction costs were reduced from $3.4 million to $1.9 million because 23 construction costs were deferred until 2027. Equipment purchases were reduced from $475,725 to $424,090 because the district spent less than expected on a backhoe. Water and sewer system maintenance was increased from $681,000 to $740,000 because filter media was added at the South Water Treatment Plant, SWTP, and a failed lift station needed sludge removed by a contractor. The renewal and replacement line item was reduced from $5.8 million to $4.1 million because costs related to the widening of Highway 105 were half the amount expected. Utility and easement acquisition costs were also lower than expected. Schaffer said the district was expected to end the year with $22.16 million in unrestricted reserves. Financial and operational reports. In his financial report, Board Treasurer Dana Franzen said that renewal and repair costs seem to be lagging, only 11% having been spent through June 2026. Operations Superintendent Dan LaFontaine said that spending ramps up in the summer months and will increase through September. In his operations report, LaFontaine said that in June, due to hot, dry weather, the district was leasing much less water from the Chilcot Ditch to Agra than in preceding months. He noted that customers have been receiving surface water only since June, because the district's 3 most productive wells were out of service. 1 well has been repaired and is pumping into Woodmoor Lake. The lake was down 3 feet in June because of high demand. He noted the SWTP was running entirely on surface water for the first time in recent years. LaFontaine reported that a contractor had hit a wastewater line on Higbee Road, but there was no sanitary sewer overflow, and the contractor had repaired the line at no cost to the district. In her report, Salin said the widening of Higbee Road was entering its last phase, the portion between Bowstring Road and Cloverleaf Road. The project to widen Jackson Creek Parkway from Higbee Road north is still working in its 90% review document. Schaffer said an intergovernmental agreement between WWSD and the town of Monument was needed to clarify who will pay for design services. Schaffer reported that high winds had blown an antenna down, impacting the district's supervisory control and data acquisition (SCADA) system. The repair was made on an emergency basis by Gordon Construction. Attorney's report. Seaver told the board that the district's first detection of PFAS chemicals in Fountain Creek was in 2023, making the district eligible for compensation from 3M, even though the deadline for filing Phase 1 claims was August 2024. The Phase 2 filing deadline is in July 2026. But there is guidance in the 3M case allowing Phase 1 claims to be filed by the Phase 2 deadline in some cases. The law firm handling the class action suit believes WWSD's claim can proceed under the Phase 2 deadline. District customers currently do not receive water from Fountain Creek, but will if the Loop Water Reuse Project is implemented. Executive session. The meeting ended with an executive session for the board to receive legal advice regarding potential agreements with Quantum Group, El Paso County, Monument Fire Protection District, Colorado Springs Utilities, the Loop Water Authority, PFAS litigation, and Rex Colorado Corp. No action was taken following the executive session. The next meeting is on August 10th at 1 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the second Monday of each month at 1 p.m. at the district office at 1845 Woodmoor Drive. Please see www.woodmoorwater.com or call 719-488-2525 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Monument Sanitation District, July 15th. District prepares liens. By Jackie Burhans and James Howald. At a brief meeting in July, District Manager Mark Parker told the Monument Sanitation District MSD Board the district was preparing to file liens against delinquent accounts. The board heard a manager's report from Parker and an update on the most recent Joint Use Committee JUC meeting from Operations Specialist Jim Kendrick. Some customers unaware of rate increase. Parker told the board that some customers were still unaware that the district raised its monthly fee by $5 in January 2025. Despite having received paper and email statements documenting the increase, a few customers have continued to pay the previous monthly fee, resulting in a $5 deficit and a $5 late fee each month. Some of the accounts are delinquent by as much as $400, Parker said, and liens will be filed against their properties. Manager's report. Parker told the board the district was operating with no issues. Parker said he had received 114 requests in one day to locate underground infrastructure from Connection Connect, a company installing high-speed internet fiber throughout the MSD service area. He said he had received requests for approval of 2 manholes in Willow Springs, filing 2 that will serve about 45 new homes. Manholes require 3 to 4 months to build, Parker said, so the developer filed the approval requests early. Parker said the butterfly and bee-friendly landscaping in front of the district's offices was getting compliments from passers-by. Operations report. Kendrick, MSD's liaison with the JUC, which operates the wastewater treatment plant co-owned by MSD, the town of Palmer Lake, and the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District, told the board that piping for 2 blowers had been repaired, and the work was $30,000 less than the estimate. The JUC is planning to repair its floating light ultra-mobile pump, or FLUMP, which is operated by remote control and removes biosolids from the sludge pond. Monument Sanitation District meetings are held at 9 a.m. on the 3rd Wednesday of the month in the District Conference Room at 132nd Street Monument. The next regular meeting is scheduled for August 19th. See monumentsanitation.org for meeting dates and times. For a district service map, see www.monumentsanitation.org/district-map. For information, 719-481-4886. Jackie Burhans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Donala Water and Sanitation District, July 16th. Water for Tomorrow Plan Takes Shape. By James Howald and Jackie Burhans. General Manager John Kowasman asked the Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD Board, for comments on 2 options he analyzed to provide DWSD with a larger percentage of renewable water, an effort the district is calling Water for Tomorrow. Kowasman reviewed for the board details of a water augmentation agreement between DWSD and El Paso County and discussed recent conversations with Triview Metropolitan District, TMD, and Forest Lake Metropolitan District, FLMD, its partners in the operation of the Upper Monument Creek Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility, UMCRWWTF, regarding the future of the facility. The board heard a manager's report from Kowasman. The meeting ended with 2 executive sessions. Sustainability and autonomy take center stage. Kowasman began by saying the district is not in crisis today. The board asked him to focus on long-term planning to establish a trajectory for managing the district's water sources. His presentation at the July meeting focused on the question of return flows, how to reuse the treated water released from the UMCRWWTF, which at present is discharged into Monument Creek and then makes its way to other users via Fountain Creek. Kowasman said wells pumping from Denver Basin aquifers are DWSD's primary water supply. These aquifers are non-renewable. They are reliable today, Kowasman said, but will decline over the long term. The district has surface water rights from the Willow Creek Ranch near Leadville and the Laughlin Ditch, southeast of the intersection of I-25 and Highway 24. Diversification of water sources is inevitable. Return flows can add 400 to 500 acre-feet of water annually to the district's supply, Kowasman said. Kowasman discussed 2 options to use return flows. First, participating in the Loop Water Reuse Project in conjunction with moving to the North Monument Creek Interceptor, NMCI, for waste treatment and decommissioning the UMCRWWTF. Second, repurposing the UMCRWWTF site, adding advanced water treatment technology to it, and replacing the pipeline that runs from the waste treatment plant to the Hull treatment plant. Kowasman estimated the cost of the first option to be between $56 million and $102 million. The second option he priced at $29 million to $55 million. In terms of the water treatment requirements of the 2 options, Kowasman pointed out that Fountain Creek water, which the loop would deliver to customers, is more challenging to process because Fountain Creek receives water from airports, military bases, and dense population centers, and its water is high in organic carbon, total dissolved solids, and PFAS. The water treated at the UMCRWWTF is lower in those three contaminants and simpler to treat. Kovacs discussed how the two options compare in terms of renewable water and autonomy. Participating in the loop could bring the district to 89% renewable water, but the district would lose autonomy because the Loop Water Authority is a third party. The second option could attain 100% renewable water and retain complete autonomy for the district. Board President Wayne Vanderschuur thanked Kovacs for taking a fresh look at the district's options. He said the district is bumping up against our debt limit and would need to ask customers to increase its ability to borrow. Augmentation agreement unchanged. Kovacs told the board that El Paso County had asked DWSD to provide a letter confirming that the district will provide the county between 78 and 120 acre-feet of water annually, to be used by the county to replace the water it uses in Fox Run Regional Park. In return for the water, the district was given the rights to all the water under the park and the right to build a water storage tank on park land. The county needs to drill an additional well and, as part of the permitting process, must prove DWSD will continue to provide the agreed-upon water for augmentation. DWSD signed the contract with the county in 1997 and has been meeting its obligations since then, Kovacs said, adding, "It's a pretty significant commitment." As DWSD converts to surface water, it can use it to meet the agreement with the county. In response to a question from Director Kenneth Judd, Kovacs said the contract did not have a time limit. No action was required by the board. Agreement on UMCRWWTF. Kovacs told the board that the UMCRWWTF was operated under an intergovernmental agreement between DWSD, FLMD, and TMD. FLMD and TMD have decided they will transition to the NMCI to process their wastewater and discontinue the use of the facility shared with DWSD. Kovacs said he had met with DWSD's partners in the UMCRWWTF, and they have verbally committed to move out of their ownership shares as part of their transition to NMCI. Kovacs said he had proposed an exit strategy that was received positively, but FLMD and TMD had proposed a different plan that would have them exiting the UMCRWWTF by the end of the year. Vanderschuur said the alternative proposal was of interest to the board. Kovacs said DWSD's partners would give up their governance seats but would need wastewater treatment services from the facility until the NMCI is complete. Manager's report. Kovacs showed the board an image of the Willow Fire, which is threatening DWSD's Willow Creek Ranch property. The ranch is not impacted yet, Kovacs said, citing the fact that the telemetry for the flume is providing normal readings. A trailer has been moved off the site and district staff is staying out of the firefighters' way. When staff has permission to return, an assessment of damage and runoff will be made. He noted the board had authorized $280,000 for wildfire mitigation at the ranch. That money will be available, whatever is needed, when the fire is out. Kovacs reported on a sewer pipe break on Holbein Drive that required an emergency response from the district. A customer reported a basement backup, and staff located a blockage in a pipe, which was cleared. On further investigation, rising water was found in 3 manholes. Another blockage was located and cleared. Immediately following that, a sinkhole was discovered on Holbein Drive, which initiated an emergency response. Dealing with the sinkhole required 2 line breaks to be repaired. Those repairs ended the emergency response. The incident qualified as a sanitary sewer overflow, requiring the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment to be notified. Executive sessions. The meeting ended with 2 executive sessions, the first for the purpose of developing strategy and conducting negotiations related to the capital budget, including prioritization and negotiations concerning major projects for EPC augmentation, Loop Water Authority, and the UMCRWWTF, and the second to receive legal advice on personnel matters. Following the executive sessions, the board voted unanimously not to make a payment to the Loop Water Authority. The payment requested was DWSD's portion of the funding for the authority to continue with its project. The next board meeting is on Thursday, August 20th at 1:30 p.m. Generally, board meetings are held the third Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. and include online access. Call 719-488-3603 or access www.donalawater.org to receive up-to-date meeting information. The district office is located at 1585 O'Holbein Drive, Colorado Springs 80921. James Howald can be reached at jameshowald@ocn.me. Jackie Burhans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, June 3rd and 18th and July 16th. Executive Director role takes shape. By James Howald. At meetings in June and July, the El Paso County Regional Loop Water Authority, EPCRLWA, or the Loop, Board, clarified the role its newly hired Executive Director Jason Hahn will play and began transitioning responsibilities to him from Merrick, Inc., the company that has coordinated the work of contractors for the Loop up to this point. Hahn proposed that the board fund a review of routes for the pipelines that will convey treated water from the treatment plant near the Calhan Reservoir to customers in participating districts. The board decided on changes to its membership and the roles of its accounting firm and its subcommittees. The June 3rd meeting ended with an executive session. Hahn comes on board. At its meeting on June 3rd, the board approved $5,000 to purchase a computer and software for Hahn. It also decided he would be assigned office space in the Woodmoor Water and Sanitation District's offices on Woodmoor Drive. The board also authorized Hahn to attend the upcoming Special District Association Conference. The board added Hahn to the list of approved signers for the Loop's bank account. Dual signatures are still required for all expenditures. The board also provided Hahn with a credit card with a $5,000 limit to be used on behalf of the Loop. Hahn will discuss his benefit plan with CEBT Benefit by Trust. Hahn was directed to draft a memo of understanding to establish member agencies' roles, scope of work, and other requirements. At the June 3rd meeting, Hahn proposed that the Loop's contract with Merrick be terminated in its current form and rewritten to specify that Merrick will work for the Loop on an on-call basis. The board authorized Hahn to discuss the needed changes with Merrick. At the July 16th meeting, Hahn presented the board with an updated contract in which Merrick agrees to advise the Loop on financing sources and to provide engineering on an as-needed basis. The new agreement with Merrick includes a carryover payment and change order costs that total $219,000. The board voted unanimously to approve the updated contract. Hahn told the board that he met with Kevin Brown, the general manager of the Triview Metropolitan District, CMD, regarding CMD's proposed sale of its Sundance pipeline to the Loop. At the July 16th meeting, Hahn asked for direction from the board regarding his autonomy to make decisions between monthly board meetings. Director John Kowasman said he would support giving Hahn the same signing authority that the Loop Board president had. Jesse Schaffer, the Loop Board president, pointed out that the contracts for the year are all in place, and Hahn would be managing them. All claims come to the board for approval, Schaffer said, but some things may need to be paid before the next board meeting. Hahn said the board members all serve on the Loop subcommittees that are steering the major components of the project, such as the reservoir expansion and the pumps and pipelines, and so are well informed about the status of all tasks. Director Dan LaFontaine was reluctant to give Hahn too much autonomy and asked that all changes to contracts be logged and approved by the board. Schaffer clarified that the issue was ancillary services not included in any contract and asked Hahn to be authorized to make decisions where the cost was less than $50,000. Kowasman asked to table the issue until Hahn could put together a more detailed plan. Hahn suggests pipeline review. When CMD left the project, alternate routes for the pipelines were not considered, Hahn said. He asked the board to approve a study that would compare the costs of the current route. which includes the Sundance Pipeline, which CMD currently owns but is considering selling to the Loop, with alternate routes that might be less expensive. Han said he had discussed a study with JVA Inc., which said it could complete it for $10,000 at most. He asked for the board's agreement to pursue the study. Schaffer said that alternate routes were discussed with Burns and McDonnell, the engineering firm designing the pipelines, when CMD left the project. LaFontaine agreed that a comparative study should be done, pointing out that the Sundance Pipeline is 15 years old. He said he did not want to complete the purchase of the Sundance Pipeline until alternative routes were studied. Kovacs expressed some skepticism that an alternate route could cost less than using the Sundance Pipeline. Han said an alternative route might make it possible to increase the pressure in the pipeline and reduce the number of lift stations needed in the 52-mile pipeline, saving costs and avoiding the use of eminent domain to acquire easements. Kovacs argued the study could delay getting the design to 60% completion, a requirement to begin the construction manager at risk methodology that the board has chosen, and asked that the Pumps and Pipeline Subcommittee be consulted. Director Madeline Van Den Hoek said she did not want delays. At Schaffer's request, the issue was tabled. Other board decisions. The board decided to allow its subcommittees to authorize change orders to existing contracts where the change orders do not exceed a total of $25,000, scope changes to contracts that don't alter the cost of the contract, and schedule changes that do not exceed a total of 90 days. The subcommittees must vote unanimously on changes, and the executive director is authorized to sign change orders meeting those criteria. The board decided to have the Donala Water and Sanitation District provide the payroll services required by hiring an executive director. Fromm & Company, Inc. Station, the Loop's accounting company, will provide additional payroll services if needed. The board voted to accept the resignation of William George as the Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, representative on the Loop Board, and to accept the appointment of John Kovacs in George's place. Executive session. The June 3rd meeting ended with an executive session for the board to develop negotiating strategies related to the employment agreement with the executive director and a potential public-private partnership agreement with Tallgrass. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 20th at 9 a.m. Regular meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 9 a.m. at the Monument Town Hall at 645 Beacon Light Road. Please see loopwater.org or call 719-4883-603 to verify meeting times and locations. James Howell can be reached at jameshowell@ocn.me. Triview Metropolitan District, July 22nd. Auditor finds healthy 2025 financial status. By Aaron Poole. The Triview Metropolitan District, TMD. Regular meeting on July 22nd, rescheduled from July 23rd due to scheduling conflicts, started promptly at 5:30 p.m. with a presentation of findings from the May/June 2026 audit of TMD financial statements. Also discussed at the meeting were updates on the Higbee Road Improvement Project, final repairs to the new TMD administrative building, pine beetle mitigation efforts in the community, and plans for a new pump system at South Reservoir. The board reviewed and voted on resolutions related to amending the 2025 budget and amending the rules and regulations of TMD related to water service enforcement procedures. At the conclusion of the public agenda, the board briefly recessed and then went into an executive session to discuss the Colorado Revised Statutes on Intergovernmental Agreements, IGA, with Donala Water and Sanitation District, DWSD, to discuss negotiation strategy concerning DWSD and the town of Monument. Lead auditor presents audit findings. TMD's audit partner, Christine McLeod, certified public accountant with Haney & Company, joined the July board meeting to present findings from the audit of financial statements through December 31st, 2025. The audit, the objective of which is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements in question are free from material misstatement took place in late May and early June, with 5 auditors from Haney and Company, including audit manager Diego Martinez, along with several representatives from TMD's accounting firm, Fromm and Co. McLeod reported that TMD has assets totaling about $180.4 million, about 81% of which are capital assets, cash, and cash equivalents, and liabilities totaling about $103.4 million. The total net position for TMD is about $65.4 million. Board member Jason Gross asked McLeod what these numbers say about the health of TMD's financials, and she cited the positive net position and the fact that operating revenue is covering expenses as indicators of financial health. McLeod further reported a significant increase in assets in 2025, due in large part to the general obligation bond issuance, leaving about $20 million in the general fund at the end of 2025, as shown on the graph above. The full presentation and audit report can be found on the TMD website. Haney and Co. will issue their opinion once the draft audit report, which was prepared by Fromm and Co. and reviewed by Haney and Co., has been accepted by the board. The report is scheduled to be submitted to the state by the July 31st deadline. Higbee Road Improvement Project updates. Steve Sheffield, operations manager, reported that the improvement project on Higbee Road, aimed at increasing safety and mitigating traffic, is moving along well ahead of schedule. The curb, gutter, and sidewalk have all been installed, and the first 2-inch layer of asphalt has been laid down in the area east of Jackson Creek Parkway and west of Bowstring Road in front of Lewis Palmer High School. Another 2-inch layer of asphalt will be added soon to complete that portion of the road. The inclusion of a new roundabout required a reconfiguration of the school's parking lot, including restriping, which is currently underway. A second roundabout is next to be installed near Bowstring Road. Sheffield also reported that he is working with Crossland Construction to correct the remaining issues that have been identified with the new district office building, including some issues with the building itself and substantial issues with the landscaping. Landscaping issues have mostly been addressed by the TMD team by installing sod, an appropriate irrigation system, and some mature pine trees, but the landscape contractor still needs to install shrubs and rock in several areas. The repair process with the new building is iterative, and as items are corrected, new issues are being identified. The warranty for the building does not expire until March 12, 2027, so there is time to resolve any outstanding repairs. Pine beetle mitigation. Public Works and Parks and Open Space Manager Matt Reno reported on efforts being taken to protect trees in the community from a pine beetle infestation. His crew applied a second application of insecticide as a preventive measure throughout the district, primarily focused on streetscapes along major roads. This application will be the last for this season. Forested areas are difficult to address in this way, but earlier in the summer, Reno worked with other contractors on different practices to try to prevent the invasive insects from taking root and destroying mature trees. Forest mitigation practices will continue through the fall with help from neighboring areas. Though pine beetles cannot be fully prevented, they can be contained at manageable levels, so trees in the district remain healthy. Reno shared that a community cleanup day is planned for August 17th. Community members can bring landscape debris to their curb, and trucks will come to chip the branches and make mulch. More information about the event is available on the TMD website. It may be wishful thinking, but for Reno and his team, it is time to plan for winter in July. Preparations are already underway for snow season as they bring in some of their available snow trucks and make plans for staffing during the, hopefully, snowy winter months. New pump system planned for South Reservoir. Jim McGrady, district manager, updated the board on the status of the large column pump serving South Reservoir, built and installed in 2021 to 22, that faulted and requires repairs. Attempts to remove the pump for repair revealed that it is stuck in place in the 37-inch pipe. possibly due to a change in the pipe's shape or a compromised pipe joint that is trapping the pump. To retrieve the pump, which is designed to move large volumes of water quickly, a portion will need to be unbolted and removed to gain access. This will require about 700 to 800 feet of water to be pumped from the reservoir, reported Gary Potter, Utilities Superintendent for the district. A concern during a time of drought, but Potter said that the water is not a loss because it can be traded and credited back to TMD. Once removed, McGrady said, the pump will be difficult to put back in place. As a result, a new pump system is being designed to include 3 smaller 10 cubic feet per second pumps, a more conventional setup that allows for some redundancy in the event of a pump failure. The design is being planned in partnership with the engineering firm, Schnabel Engineering, which originally designed the South Reservoir system and column pump, because they understand how to tie a new pump into the existing system to avoid needing to replace existing pieces to accommodate the new pumps. Board member Gross asked about the decision to use the same firm that designed the system with the existing faulted pump. McGrady reassured the board that he has confidence in the firm and that the existing pump system was designed and delivered as planned, but suffered from time demands and a small budget, which are not constraints for the current project. The new system will be installed by a company chosen through a competitive bidding process. Design and installation of the new pump will take place over the winter months and will be installed ahead of the much hoped-for snowmelt runoff in early spring 2027. In a significant milestone for the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor (NMCI) project, McGrady reported that they closed on the revenue bonds on July 22nd, and the money, $32 million, is now available to begin the project. The closing process was reportedly very quick and went smoothly. Revisions to the 2025 TMD budget. A public hearing was held at the July 22 TMD meeting regarding Resolution 2026-08, outlining additional expenditures resulting from unanticipated costs in fiscal year 2025, and the subsequent request to amend the previously adopted 2025 budget to cover those expenses. Kathy Fromm reviewed the proposed amendment and outlined the costs necessitating it, which included the new administrative building, Higbee Road Improvement Project, projections for salaries for new employees, and consultation costs. The bulk of the budget increase, $5.14 million, of the total increase of $7.96 million, went to capital projects funds for the new district administrative building that opened in March 2026. Fromm noted that many TMD projects and equipment are handled with cash, and there remains an operating reserve of over 1 year, an indication of general fiscal health. Overall budget changes included, though the public hearing was advertised in the Gazette, no members of the public attended the hearing in person or online to make public comment about the resolution. After review and discussion, a motion was made to approve the resolution, and the board unanimously approved Resolution 2026-8, amending the budget. Amended Rules and Regulations for Water Service Enforcement. Resolution 2026-09 proposed to amend the rules and regulations of the TMD Water Service Enforcement Procedures. Gaps in the current rules and regulations were identified through the process of changing out meters and ascertaining what leverage and authority TMD has to effect these changes and to turn off the water on non-compliant customers. George Rowley, General Counsel for TMD, amended the current rules and regulations to ensure legal compliance and clarify the water service enforcement procedures, even though enforcement procedures are rarely required. Rowley reported that though enforcement procedures currently exist in the statute, it lacks details in describing the process for enforcement and customer hearings. The amendment further reduces the time frame for required correction of a violation, once notice is received, from 30 days to not fewer than 14 days, and the time period for a customer hearing, once a written request is received, to not fewer than 10 days. customers can review current rules and regulations on the TMD website. The amendment language will be updated to state these timeframes are business days. Rowley noted that a similar amendment for wastewater will be forthcoming for the board's review. The board reviewed and discussed this amendment, and Resolution 2026-09 was approved unanimously. The board took a brief recess and moved into executive session at 8 p.m. Meetings are usually held on the third Thursday of the month at the district office located at 1641 Baja Drive, West Baptist Road in Monument, with temporary access via Old Denver Road. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for August 20th at 5:30 p.m. For Zoom meeting joining instructions, meeting agendas, minutes, and updates, visit https://triviewmetro.com. Aaron Poole can be reached at aaronpoole@ocn.me. NEPCO, July 11th, 5 New Laws Impact HOAs, by Marlene Brown. The Northern El Paso County Coalition of Community Organizations, NEPCO, held its regular bi-monthly meeting July 11th at the Woodmoor Barn. There are 42 active Homeowners Association, HOA members, with 21 HOAs being represented at the meeting. The guest speaker was Amanda Ashley, partner at Altitude Community Law. She works closely with community associations. With more than 20 years of experience, Chiosek was more than 20 years, she understands the HOA laws and can help HOAs work through complicated legal and regulatory issues. 5 new laws that impact HOAs. See leg.colorado.gov/bills for more information. HB 26-1001, Housing Developments on Qualifying Properties Home Act, allows the construction of a residential development on qualifying property that is less than 5 acres of land and owned by a school district, state college, or university, Board of Cooperative Services, Housing Authority, Regional Transit District, or Regional Transportation Authority, nonprofit organization with a demonstrated history of providing affordable housing. HB 26-1007, Use of Energy Resource. To improve a customer's ability to use energy resources, such as solar panels and other solar generation devices, HOAs may not prohibit the installation or use of a solar generation device. The homeowner will be required to use reasonable care to secure the device to their home, condo, or apartment, and may be responsible for all liability and costs associated with the maintenance and/or removal of such devices. HB 26-1045, Disabilities Housing Protections. Associations cannot refuse to make reasonable accommodation that may be necessary. Assistance animals are presumed to be reasonable accommodations. HB 26-1099, Protect Financial Condition of HOA. Strengthens financial stability, transparency, and accountability for HOAs by requiring reserve studies and proper management of association records. SB 26-155, Increase Access to Homeowners Insurance Enterprise. The enterprise shall charge a service fee to insurers and use fee revenue to provide business services to insurers, including loss due to hail and windstorm damage claims, by defraying the costs of repairs, installing resilient roof systems, and grants for homeowners for roofs and other damages to their home. Are your HOA's documents out of date? HOAs are required to abide by and enforce only legally enforceable provisions in their articles of incorporation, bylaws, and covenants. HOAs cannot enforce old rules or regulations that are no longer legal. Be sure your changes are looked at by someone who understands the law regarding HOAs. Changing documents requires membership approval. Specific requirements regarding voting materials. Can vote in person or by mail-in ballot. May need mortgagee or third-party consent. Can utilize courts if necessary. For more information or questions about laws that pertain to HOAs, contact Ashley at Ashley@Altitude Law. The next NEPCO meeting is scheduled for September 12th at 10 a.m. at the Woodmoor Barn, 1691 Woodmoor Drive. Meetings are typically held on the second Saturday bi-monthly. For more information regarding future presentations and membership information for HOAs in the area, go to nepco.org. Marlene Brown can be contacted at marlenebrown@ocn.me. Woodmoor Improvement Association, July 22nd. Board hears from Fiber Installer. By Jackie Burhans. The Woodmoor Improvement Association, WIA, board met on July 22nd to hear from Force Broadband about its progress laying fiber through the open spaces and the community, and from board directors in their area. Force Broadband Updates Board, Jeff Cannon, co-owner of Force Broadband, provided an update on the fiber conduit that the company is laying in South Woodmoor. As a small, independently owned internet provider, Force extends fiber only where it can afford to make an investment due to existing or likely customers. The company has had some challenges locating infrastructure of other providers, he said. Force uses Colorado Connections locating, while Comcast has recently changed its utility location services contractor from USIC to on-the-spot utility resources, he said. When a change like that occurs, in his experience, data can be lost. For Force to dig, they require clear-to-dig locates from Comcast and have repeatedly cut Comcast lines they were assured were not in the area they wanted to dig. They also have had to wait for Mountain View Electric Association, which continues to use USIC, as they were unwilling to paint markers in the rain. Cannon said he hoped to get crews back on the job quickly to get the conduit in the ground over the next few weeks, then follow behind quickly with fiber to bring customers online. President Brian Bush asked when WIA could perform its maintenance in the South Woodmoor Preserve without interfering with Force's work. Cannon said all the conduit could be mowed, moved, mowed around, or driven over. He offered to move it out of the way and coordinate with WIA's contractors. Bush expressed appreciation for Cannon's appearance and asked that he work with Covenants Director Jennifer Davis and Common Areas Director Steve Cutler going forward. Director highlights: Treasurer. Bush reported for Treasurer. Pete Giusti reported that WIA is unlikely to make income targets from construction fees, project fees, and fines, but was on target for interest-bearing accounts and barn rentals. The good news, he said, is that staff is controlling expenses. Homeowners Association, HOA, Administrator Denise Cagliaro confirmed that liens had been submitted to the county for properties that were delinquent in paying annual dues. HOA Administrator Cagliaro reported that she was working with the accountant to review the 2025 financials and file the required IRS Form 990. Covenants. Davis reported that June had 29 covenant-related items resulting in one violation for a recreational vehicle. There were 20 HOA checks and 2 covenant hearings in July. There is one covenant hearing scheduled for August 13th. Davis noted that there were no issues related to fireworks on the 4th of July. Public Safety. Director Brad Gleason confirmed that there were no founded fireworks complaints in July in Woodmoor. He said that the increased staffing was helpful. Bush expressed his thanks to the community for not setting off fireworks. Gleason noted that it has been very dry and asked residents to be mindful of high fire danger. Architectural Control. Miller reported 69 project submissions in June, 65 of which were approved administratively. 4 projects were approved by the Architectural Control Committee, ACC, and none was rejected. There have been 229 projects submitted year to date, which is a 9.1% decrease from 2025 with a 98.7% approval rate. Forestry. Director Jason Hand said that forestry and Firewise visits had slowed down, possibly due to the heat. 4 visits were made, but there are a number of visits in the pipeline. He said that the June and July chipping days were a huge success with a total of 874 loads, equaling 370 cubic yards. He thanked the community for its generous donations, which raised $943. He also thanked the volunteers and staff, including board member Miller. Common areas. Cutler reported that the sprinkler schedule had been modified due to dry conditions. Prairie dog mitigation in the South Preserve was completed in July, he said. President. Bush reported that he signed the closing documents on easements to El Paso County for the Highway 105B project. He noted that all easements had been resolved and that the community should see work on the project starting soon. He recommended that the board allocate $40,000 of the $81,000 in easement fees be put into the reserve account, and the remaining $41,000 be placed into operational reserve to prepare for WIA's contribution to the D38 Safe Routes to School (SRTS) project. Bush said he had heard that SRTS was ready to go out to bid, but that WIA would wait to see areas along Deer Creek and White Fawn worked on before cutting a check. The board voted unanimously to allocate the easement revenue as recommended. The WIA Board of Directors usually meets at 7 p.m. on the fourth Wednesday of each month in the barn at 1691 Woodmoor Drive Monument. The next meeting will be on August 26th. The WIA calendar can be found at www.woodmoor.org/events/. Once approved and posted, the WIA board meeting minutes can be found at www.woodmoor.org/board-of-directors/. Jackie Burhans can be reached at jackieburhans@ocn.me. Between the covers at Covered Treasures Bookstore, Here Comes School, by the staff at Covered Treasures. The most important day of a person's education is the first day of school, not graduation day. Harry Wong. It's nearly that time. Teachers are getting their classrooms ready, back-to-school ads are on the television, and the "what can I do now" questions are more frequent. Get those backpacks out and begin to move everyone away from the sleeping-in schedule of summer. Those big yellow school buses will be rolling soon. Here are a few books for our young readers to help get them in the learning frame of mind. What on Earth? First Big Book of How, by Sally Symes and Saran Taylor, What on Earth books, $25. How do scientists see into space? How do polar bears keep warm? How do keys open locks? How do fireworks explode? Featuring more than 150 compelling questions about space, Earth, machines, buildings, animals, and the human body. This magnificent book by the author and illustrator team behind the best-selling First Big Book of Why provides answers for nearly every inquisitive child. Answers have all been thoroughly fact-checked and reviewed by subject experts, who are profiled in the book. Ready for School Words, by Hannah Campbell, Merriam-Webster Kids, $16.99. Enter the world of Merriam-Webster's Ready for School Words and discover the people, places, places, and things in your community and beyond. Featuring 1,000 words helpful for children to know before they start school, this charming book takes you from home all the way to outer space, with labeled objects and simple definitions. Word of the day: 366 elevating utterances to stretch your cranium and tickle your humerus, by Merriam-Webster Kids, $14.99. Become a word virtuoso in 1 year with 366 crackerjack words aimed to impress. This charmingly illustrated book features out-of-the-ordinary words selected by the masterminds at Merriam-Webster to highlight the best of the English language. Follow a menagerie of animals as they teach one new word for each day of the year, including a definition, pronunciation, a part of speech label, and interesting trivia about the word. Each month concludes with an outlandish story that features all the new words learned that month. Animal Factopia, by Julie Beer, Britannica Books, $14.99. Did you know that beavers have orange teeth? Or that some monkeys floss their teeth using bird feathers? Or that one species of bird can walk underwater? Or that alligators stay underwater for longer by swallowing rocks? Or that sea otters use rocks to crack open prey? Welcome to Animal Factopia. An Amazing World of Facts, all of which are verified by Encyclopedia Britannica. Every fact in this book is connected to the next, in a fascinating web of information, leading the reader to leapfrog from topic to topic in surprising and hilarious ways. With 9 books currently in the series, there are enough to satisfy the most fact-hungry student. Merriam-Webster's Student Atlas. Merriam-Webster Inc., $13.95, geared for middle schoolers. This atlas has been updated and published in 2026 to reflect recent global events. It features abundant full-color physical, political, and thematic maps, coverage of the world's landforms, bodies of water, ocean currents, wind patterns, climate, natural resources, and population density, up-to-date statistics and global information, and includes flags and facts for countries and territories around the world. If your student is in upper elementary school, we strongly recommend the 40 books on the Pikes Peak Battle of the Books list, a reading competition currently for 5th grade students. Started in District 38 in 1986, the program has grown to include 11 area school districts and various charter schools. The mission of the program is to foster a love of reading by encouraging students to read challenging, quality literature written by a variety of authors in multiple genres. The wide variety of titles includes classics such as Hatchet by Gary Paulson, as well as the more recent Wild Robot by Peter Brown. All titles are in stock, and copies of the current year's list are available for customers. The Kissing Hand by Audrey Penn, Tanglewood, $12.99. And finally, for that fearful kindergartner or first-timer in a new school, The Kissing Hand has become a classic. School is starting in the forest, but Chester Raccoon does not want to go. To help ease Chester's fears, Mrs. Raccoon shares a family secret called the Kissing Hand to give him the reassurance of her love any time his world feels a little scary, especially at times of separation, whether starting school, entering daycare, or going to camp. Until next month, happy reading. And here's to a great school year. The staff at Covered Treasures can be reached at books@ocn.me. Library events. Concert series is announced. Summer Adventure comes to an end. By Harriet Halbig. The library's Summer Adventure reading program finished at the end of July with over 1,000 participants at the Monument and Palmer Lake libraries. Thanks to all who participated, and especially to the many teen volunteers who assisted in registering patrons and awarding prizes. Coming to Monument in August are several new programs for all ages, and the recurring programs as follows. Storytime each Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:15. Socrates Cafe Adult Discussion Group Tuesdays from 1 to 3. Pause to read on Tuesdays from 4 to 5. Increase fluency by reading to a Pause to Read therapy dog. Recommended for ages up to 12. Toddler time on Wednesdays from 9:30 to 10, and 10:30 to 11 for toddlers and their parent or caregiver. The Teen Craft Group will meet from 5 to 6 on Monday, August 6th. Bring a craft to work on and enjoy socializing with other crafters your age. Meets the first and third Monday of the month, the second to be on August 17th. Teens aged 13 to 18 are invited to attend a Combat Robots workshop from 1 to 4 p.m. on Wednesday, August 5th. Have you seen combat robots, and would you like to learn how to build your own? Working in teams of 2, assemble combat robots and battle against the other teams. No previous experience required. Registration required at 719-5316333 extension 7005. Device drop-in help is available on Thursday, August 6th and 20th. If you are having trouble with your laptop, smartphone, tablet, or the library's new online catalog, drop in anytime between 11 and noon and a staff member will assist you. This program is for adults and seniors. On Wednesday, August 12th, adults and teens are welcome to attend a class on soldering circuits from 1 to 3 p.m. The purpose of this class is to teach basic soldering, which is a key technique for connecting circuits. Patrons under age 18 will need a signed creative space agreement, available on the PPLD website ppld.org. Registration is required at 71953-16333 extension 7005. Adults and seniors are invited to celebrate America's 250th anniversary by making a paper marbled flag. All supplies are included. Registration is required at 71953-16333 extension 7005. The Teen Advisory Board will meet from 5 to 6 on Thursday, August 13th. Teens aged 13 to 18 are encouraged to attend meetings to learn leadership skills, earn volunteer hours, and give input on library activities. Registration is required at 719-5316-333 extension 7005. Tweens aged 9 to 12 are invited to join us for a tabletop role-playing game. Create your own hero and explore other worlds from 3:30 to 5:45 on Saturday, August 15th. Registration is required at 719-5316-333 extension 7005. The Monument Library Adult Books Group will meet from 10:30 to 12:30 on Friday, August 21st to discuss Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club by Martha Hill Kelly. All adults are welcome to attend. The Monument Fiber Arts Group will meet from 10:30 to noon on Friday, August 28th. Adults 18 and up are welcome to bring their own project and socialize with fellow crafters. Palmer Lake Library events. Storytime at the Palmer Lake Library will be from 10:30 to 11:15 on Fridays, August 14th and 28th. This program is for children up to age 12 and their parent or caregiver. This year's Palmer Lake Library Village Green Concert Series will be on Fridays, August 14th, 21st, and 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. The concert on August 14th will feature pop folk musician Edie Carey. The concert on August 21st will feature Tenderfoot Bluegrass Band, and the concert on August 28th will feature Peak Big Band. Please note that the Library District will be performing system upgrades on Wednesday, August 5th from 6 a.m. until noon. During that time, the catalog, PPLD app, and other e-library systems will be unavailable. Harriet Halbig may be reached at harriethalbig@ocn.me. The Nature of Our Community. Free Palmer Divide Land Stewardship Booklets available. By Dr. Judith von Ahlefeldt, landscape ecologist. Many Palmer Divide landowners are fascinated by the dynamic ecology of the Palmer Divide. This divide separates watersheds of the South Platte and Arkansas River tributaries eastward from the Rampart Range to beyond the eastern edge of El Paso County. East of Lyman in Lincoln County, the Palmer Divide ends where the Republican and Arickaree watersheds begin. The Palmer Divide Ridge hosts tri-lakes and black forest and is surrounded by the foothills and grasslands of the Great Plains. Its landscape and human history go back at least 12,000 years. If you are interested in the wonders of this landscape and want to steward them, you will be delighted by 2 local booklets created through several editions in the last 30 years. These brief, free, and informative booklets can give your understanding of the Palmer Divide a big boost. These are free upon request, seasonally, at the Black Forest Slash and Mulch site when it is open, and also, year-round, at the Black Forest Fire District office. The Black Forest Fire District is now helping to distribute these from its main station at Burgess and Teach Out Roads during business hours throughout the year. Forest Information Guide. The Forest Information Guide, Fig Book, was initiated by Ruth Ann Steele, famous for founding the Black Forest Slash and Mulch site and program in the early 1990s. She was passionate about spreading the message of land stewardship to residents. At first, Steele gathered supplies of pamphlets and handouts in 3-ring binders to give out at the annual April community forestry meetings. Over the next 30-plus years, these became formally organized into the Forest Information Guide, produced by the Slash and Mulch nonprofit, SAMCOM, in cooperation with El Paso County and the Colorado State Forest Service, CSFS. The latest edition of the Forest Information Guide has 95 pages and was edited by Carolyn Brown, Jeff DeWitt, and Cal Litterdale. State Forester David Root of the Woodland Park CSFS office assisted with technical advice. Expert local citizens contributed photos and text materials, and Sherry Litterdale produced the graphic design, available online as a .pdf file. This is a comprehensive and useful guide to the care and feeding of forests and grasslands for the Palmer Divide region. Every landowner should have this fundamental forest information guide. The second book, published by El Paso County Environmental Services, is titled El Paso County Noxious Weeds and Control Methods. This booklet is updated annually in spring and is updated according to the annual State of Colorado determination of List A, B, and C threat levels of noxious weeds. List A, new invasives which must be eradicated. List B, discrete populations, must be eradicated, contained, or suppressed. And List C, long-established populations, control is recommended. Some jurisdictions require control. Summer is when noxious weeds flower and produce seed, but often the best time to control them is fall, early or late winter, or spring. Noxious weeds have creative ways to invade landscapes. Every year there are more kinds, and in total are a complicated and important subject. The Noxious Weed Booklet is a full-color, 65-page booklet available, by request while supplies last, at the El Paso County Environmental Services Office on Acres Drive, Black Forest. More noxious weed information is available from the Colorado Department of Agriculture, Colorado State Forest Service, CSU Extension Office, Colorado Weed Management Organization, and Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS offices. Each Colorado county prints up a supply of custom county noxious weed booklets and provides them to partner organizations. Only one printing is done per year, and when they run out, there are no more printed that year. Both of these full-color booklets, Fig Books and Noxious Weeds, are also online. The Fig Book can be viewed at www.bf/.org tab Fig Book. The Noxious Weed Book is at El Paso County Environmental Services. Site https://communityresources.elpaso.co.com/environmental-division/:/ tab Noxious Weeds. Dr. Judith von Ahlefeldt can be contacted at judithvonahlefeldt@ocn.me. August's Wildfire Preparation Tips by Lisa Hatfield. Remove flammable cushions, furniture, and mats from deck when not in use. Make sure wooden fences don't touch the home, because they can act as a fuse drawing fire toward your house. Remove a 5 to 8 foot section to leave a gap, or replace a section with a metal look-alike. Keep cedar siding and decks freshly stained so they are less flammable. Notice gaps in stucco where embers could sneak into the house and caulk or screen them. Clear leaves from roof and gutters and understeps and deck. Grass is a fine, dry fuel, so keep it short within 30 feet of your home and buildings. Remove dead trees and slash. Look for community chipping events or take branches to the Black Forest / mulch site. Remove gamble oak within 30 feet of your home and create island groups farther out. Check with neighbors who might need help reducing fuels on their property. For more ideas, see the Colorado State Forest Service's The Home Ignition Zone, a guide to preparing your home for wildfire and creating defensible space, at https://tinyurl.com/homeignitionzone, and ask your local fire district for site-specific guidance. Lisa Hatfield is a volunteer with Fire Adapted Colorado. https://fireadapted.org/, an author of Clean Disaster Adventure novels and trained volunteer property evaluator who loves to answer questions. She can be reached at lisahatfield@ocn.me. High Altitude Nature and Gardens, Our Dry Summer Season, by Janet Sellers. This summer has been very dry and hot. Hikes and walks are pretty much limited to early mornings or late evenings. We have strong water restrictions that make for crunchy soil and grass, much of which turned pale instead of green. That alone is an external stressor that can keep our community default mode network on high alert. not to mention the hyper-vigilance for wildfire risks. Our local fire departments have deployed teams to the wildfire regions for weeks to help out with those emergencies. When we look at a parched landscape, our minds could remain in these trauma loops, but we can intentionally shift our gaze toward awe-inspiring elements such as resilient micro-ecosystems, or artworks, or moments of natural light, especially early mornings and sunsets, for an off switch to all this stress. Many landscaping efforts are turning to the mulch and mound designs, including hugelkultur wood-layered and mulched mounds, that offer us the beauty of flowers, plants, and even crops without needing much water. The Michelangelo effect as practice? In my own practice as an artist and avid student of ethnoecology, I have been using these permaculture principles in the garden and in my artworks with the greens and blues that restore us. Our high desert forest climb naturally does not have green on the ground in many places. The green is up in the air in the pine trees and leaves. For home landscapes, many have pivoted to mini gardens and mounds amid xeriscaping techniques. We can move from passive, stressed observation to active, restorative engagement in our environment. We probably should also look at the drought resistance in landscaping that is safe, yet beautiful too. Our ideas of green may once have been a pretty lawn, but that isn't what our area can sustain. We can actively build our resilience for mind and body and spirit by engaging as better and more effective stewards of the land. Drought resistance in landscaping can be as simple as burying our fire-mitigated trees, brush, and pine needles, and making the hugelkultur mounds that maintain their own moisture underground where plants need it most. We all know that pine needles are neutral, not acidic, by the time they lose their green on the ground. Xeric ground covers are no-mo too. Replacing grass with low-water, low-maintenance alternatives like creeping thyme, though this season's intensity proved challenging even for that, or the resilient Antennaria, pussy toes, and native sedges, Carex species, can provide a soft visual texture without the water demand of turf. There is free mulch available to use right away from our nearby Black Forest //mulch site, so check it out at https://bf/.org/. My own yard is not a groomed masterpiece, but it has become a functional laboratory for these ideas. Amid the trees and hugelkultur mounds, the irises have held their own, while native white yarrow and yellow asters provide a vibrant, low-maintenance display that feels more attuned to our climate than any thirsty lawn ever could. My ongoing research is for low-growing, water-wise ground covers for the steep hill behind my home that can relieve the mowing every year. Janet L. Sellers is an artist and 20-year journalist designing architecture of awe prototypes, consulting on permaculture, traditional ecological wisdom, and community environmental engagement. Contact her at janetsellers@ocn.me. On the trail, in memory of Tim Watkins, Palmer Lake Reservoirs, Beautiful Even in the Heat, by Steve Pate. We are fortunate to have a new volunteer with OCN who is a certified drone pilot. Adam Green has taken a couple of photos of the Palmer Lake Upper Reservoir. The first is taken from above the southwest shore of the upper reservoir to the east. The second photo is from near the reservoir road and includes the dam and an interesting rock formation, lower right, that appears to be yet another troll in Palmer Lake. As you can see, even in the heat of this summer, hiking in our local area can be beautiful. You may also see wildlife. A few weeks ago, a member of the Monument Hiking group on Facebook saw a mama bear and her cub skinny dipping in the upper reservoir in the area shown in the photo. Dogs are not allowed in the reservoir's area, but it would be difficult to assess bears and other critters with the $800 fine. You may also see beavers and deer in the inlet area. A few years ago, a mountain biker was coming down Balanced Rock and nearly collided with a moose. Be careful out there. And this time of year, be prepared for the heat. Plenty of water. Take your time to cool down, especially uphill. Steve Pate may be contacted at stevepate@ocn.me. Art Matters. The Architecture of Our Daily Lives, by Janet Sellers. Why do we all feel better after a rainstorm in the Ponderosa Pines? We all are inherently attracted to nature, land and sky, trees and water. I've been learning more and more about how we respond to nature before we even have a thought. Our bodies respond. The field of health and well-being for art offers a relatively stable and reliable path for an artist compared to the gallery route. The subjective trends look, and maybe getting noticed by a dealer in the art world, is the commercial side. But in contrast, the public art sector and the healthcare sector run on real, true-to-life institutional budgets, city planning funds, building funds, and have documented health benefits. And hospitals and civic spaces actively look for art that lowers stress and helps people to feel better. It's good for the community and very good for the artist. When an artist chooses this path, or what can become a necessary contracted service with a real-world purpose, the artist doesn't have to be waiting around for their work on a gallery wall hoping for a buyer. Our sensory environment and the things all around us can be high stress, and when we have the relief of a work of art made by human hands, we relate to it. We all calculate the sense of forest and landscape even without knowing it. Communities nationwide have found that the benefits of forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, support well-being. Why do we feel better after walking in the pine forest? The physics of light and scent work within our nervous system to support us. Pine forests release phytoncides, special airborne oils, oxygen, and terpenes into the air. These natural chemicals protect the trees from pests, help human bodies relax and fight illness, and even assist in cloud formation to cool the earth. Inhaling plant phytoncides, like alpha-pinene, increases the number and activity of human white blood cells called natural killer NK cells, which target virus-infected cells. Pine forests reduce stress, too. Breathing forest air lowers human blood pressure, pulse rate, and levels of the stress hormone cortisol. And a trip through the forest improves sleep and mood. Compounds in pine air act on the nervous system to ease anxiety and promote deeper relaxation and rest. It is fascinating to note that our bodies recognize this in art, such as paintings and photography, and some similar benefits are recognized. We all calculate the forest without knowing it. The idea of forest bathing is also a common denominator. Forest bathing is the gentle walk in the woods to bathe in the forest air. We are all protagonists of this immortal science and its benefits just by a walk in the forest. The physics of light and scent, things everyone can smell and see, are also elements of what we can capture and portray in the studio and share in the world. Janet L. Sellers is an artist and 20-year journalist designing architecture of awe and kinesthetic activation prototypes, consulting on visual corporate communication, strategic layout placement, and community engagement. She serves as a senior writer and columnist reaching a monthly circulation of 21,000 local households. She can be contacted at janetsellers@ocn.me. Our Community Notices by Janet Sellers. Although we strive for accuracy in these listings, dates or times are often changed after publication. Please double-check the time and place of any event you wish to attend by calling the information number for that event. Please notify us if your event listing needs to be updated. Black Forest/drop-off mulch program /operation. $10 fee for each load dropped off. Through September 12th, Tuesday and Thursday evenings, 5 to 7:30 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mulch is available while supplies last. Mulch loader schedule, Saturdays only, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Loader fee is $5 per bucket. Shoup Road and Herring Road, Colorado Springs, CO 80908. El Paso County Property Protection Program. El Paso County has launched a new property protection program to help prevent fraudulent deed transfers and real estate scams. The program alerts property owners whenever a document is filed using their name on any property, so owners can quickly verify whether the filing is legitimate or the result of attempted fraud. Residents may register multiple name variations and household members. At this time, the program can only monitor filings made after you enroll, but officials are exploring options to expand coverage. Property records can also be reviewed in person at the county clerk and recorder's office. To learn more or register, visit the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder's Property Protection Program webpage. For more information on the PPP program, go to this link, https://clerkandrecorder.elpasoco.com/recording/property-protection/. Prepare now for wildfires. You need to prepare your property for when wildfire comes close. See Colorado State Forest Service's booklet, The Home Ignition Zone, a guide to preparing your home for wildfire and creating defensible space. https://tinyurl.com/homeignitionzone. It's up to you to reduce the risks on your private property by analyzing where the fuels are. Easy things like getting pine needles out of your gutter will help. The booklet has ideas for homes in prairies, forests, or suburban areas. MFD seeks your help. Monument Fire District residents and businesses can create a secure account at Community Connect, which firefighters can access in emergencies to find out about people with special needs, aggressive or anxious pets, gate or garage codes, hazardous materials in use, etc. that will make it easier for them to help. www.communityconnect.io/info/co-monument. Coyote safety. With coyote activity on the rise in our neighborhoods, please stay alert to keep our community, children, and pets safe. Stay vigilant. Keep a close eye on small children during outdoor activities. Pets. Keep dogs on short leashes and avoid leaving them unattended, especially at dawn and dusk. Secure attractants. Keep trash bins sealed and do not leave pet food or water bowls outside. Practice hazing. If you see a coyote, don't run. Stand tall, wave your arms, and make loud noises to scare it away. Let's work together to respect local wildlife while keeping our households secure. School bus safety. Drivers who pass a stopped school bus with its stop arm extended and flashing lights constitute a dangerous and life-threatening violation of traffic laws. In Colorado, you must A. Stop for a school bus with flashing red lights and an extended stop arm, stopping at least 20 feet away, unless you are on the opposite side of a highway divided by a physical, raised, or depressed median. B. On a two-lane road or one where painted lines, but no physical barrier, separate lanes, you must still stop. C. After stopping, you must remain stopped until the bus's lights stop flashing and it begins to move again. Colorado school buses are increasingly being equipped with automated stop arm cameras to record and catch drivers who illegally pass a stopped school bus. Recent legislation allows for the installation and use of these systems by school districts. Academy School District 20 in Colorado uses school bus cameras, including the stop arm camera system and interior cameras, to enhance student safety and to document drivers who pass a stopped school bus with flashing lights and an extended stop arm. DUI expressed consent. Refusing to comply with Colorado's expressed consent law, which requires drivers to provide a breath or blood test upon arrest for a DUI, means increased consequences. In addition to $13,500 in costs, refusal to comply will result in additional penalties, which can include extended time without a driver's license, longer interlock requirements, designation as a persistent drunk driver, or increased alcohol education requirements. CODOT.gov/choose-tow-test. Tri-Lakes Cares needs your support. Tri-Lakes Cares is the only food pantry and human services organization serving northern El Paso County through emergency relief and self-sufficiency programs. The community-based, volunteer-supported center is a critical resource for our neighbors in need. The best way to help support Tri-Lakes Cares is to donate. Visit https://tri- lakescares.org/donate to learn how to donate money, medical items, personal supplies, or food. Please check the web for current needs in our food pantry at https://try-lakescares.org/donate/current-needs. Donation drop-off hours are Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information about Tri-Lakes Cares or how you can help, contact Tri-Lakes Cares at 71948144864 or info@tri-lakescares.org. Get help in Larkspur. Larkspur Church has a food bank and care center that offer a good variety of non-perishable food items, as well as clothing for men, women, and children. Some household items available too. We're here to help. If you are in need or know someone who is, please reach out to Jeff at gethelp@larkspur.church. If you would like to donate, contact Jeff by the same email to arrange a pickup. Forest and gardening volunteers needed. Friends of Fox Run Park has openings for student volunteers, and grown-ups too, most of the year for various tasks. Besides tasks, the group offers information and skills demonstrations for each 2 to 3 hour session and celebrates volunteers at the park with annual community events. The Tri-Lakes Cares on-site garden and monument also needs volunteers in fall, spring, and summer. Gardening tasks include preparing garden beds, weeding, sowing seeds, and developing the compost. Bring gardening gloves. Some tools will be provided on the workdays. Contact Janet Sellers at janetsellers@ocn.me or Marlene Brown at marlenebrown@ocn.me for more information. State and county volunteer opportunities. The Colorado State University Extension Office in El Paso County has several opportunities for individuals interested in volunteering. https://elpaso.extension.colostate.edu/volunteer-opportunities/ The El Paso County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Program is composed of a collective citizens group with a true and common desire to partner with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office by volunteering their services while learning more about the internal workings of the law enforcement community. https://www.epcsheriffoffice.com/volunteer-program/. The El Paso County Volunteer Program is a wonderful opportunity for citizens to learn about the various functions of county government, as well as give back to the community. The county's numerous boards and commissions need your experience, talents, and time. https://bocc.elpasoco.com/volunteer/.
Thank you for joining us for the audio versions of the articles and columns from this issue of OCN. To dive into the full articles and columns or explore more content, visit ocn.me. Don't miss out, sign up for our community newsletter to stay updated with every new post.